My name is George Neary. I'm the temporary executive director. Yeah, I am interim director at the Miami Design Preservation League. So I also want to draw attention. I don't stand here alone. Our chair is here. Roger, if you want to give a wave. And Matthew in the back is one of our staff members. That's Matthew. So again, it's a team effort. We all work together, and also, and I'll say something further in a minute. But I just wanted to start by saying this is the reason we're having it here. So please take some photos of this panel. Miami Beach is the international Art Deco capital of the world, and we're owning that. So tonight we have an opportunity to showcase the Art Deco era, and with people who might not be as well known as they should have been, but we're going to highlight them and we're going to talk about the contributions. But I want to draw your attention to the circle of life. So when I was the executive director at the Miami Design Preservation League from 91 to 96. So I'm back. What's old is new again. I was retired for 6 years, and they asked me to come back and help them during the period they're getting a new director. They're going through that process. So, but I want to draw your attention to, what I did years and years ago is that I had a Dr. Dozier down from Tallahassee talk about architecture, and he started in Egypt and everything, and I had it at Old City Hall in the courthouse, which I'd never even been to before. And we had this amazing discussion. Dr. Dorothy Fields was there. So many people were there. And we talked about architecture and Art Deco, and it was so moving. It was so moving. There's a woman in the audience who got up spontaneously without I didn't even know her, and she sang to us in that hall, and that's how I met Mary Epps. That goes a long time ago. So perhaps when as you know, she's Billie Holiday. So if we're blessed, we're hoping to hear a little bit of Billie from our chanteuse, Miss Epps. So we're very, very excited about all of this for tonight. But we'd like to do a world famous photo. So we're going to walk to the swing, and we're all going to use our I hate to say masks, our fans, and the photo is going to be all over the world. This group, as we call them, you know who they are, the Ink Spots. So one of the biggest, largest, most famous groups. I'll give you a few facts, and then I'll tell you the importance. They were a groundbreaking vocal group that helped shape the sound of American music in the 1930s and 40s and paved the way for rhythm and blues, doo-wop, and even rock and roll. They were formed in Indianapolis in the early 1930s. The classic lineup included Bill Kenny, the high tenor lead, known for his honey voice, Charlie Fakua, second tenor and guitar, Deke Watson, the baritone, Happy Jones, the deep bass, famous for spoken monologues. They had a formula, a soft guitar intro. Then Bill Kenny's sweet tenor leads the group. Happy Jones delivered a dynamic spoken verse in his deep voice. Harmonies fill in the rest. I encourage you tonight to go and look on YouTube and listen to them. They were amazing. This became their signature and template that countless doo-wop and R&B groups would follow later. If you remember their songs, If I Didn't Care, I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire, We Three, Java Jive, Into Each Life, Some Rain Must Fall, and they sung that with Ella Fitzgerald. They were the first African-American group to have a crossover success with white audiences. They influenced the Platters, the Drifters, the Temptations, and even Elvis Presley. So I want to give you a Miami connection. For those people who remember Dr. Enid Pinkley, was a dear friend of mine. I served on the board of Dade Heritage Trust for 8 years with her. During that time, she was elected the chair. And we had it at the Gusman, the Olympia Theater downtown. and that was her investiture location. And she arranged it for a reason. So she walked across the stage and came to the podium and said to everyone, when I was in high school, I was not allowed to come in and accept my diploma. And so now it's with great pride and pleasure that I accept this investiture years later, back on the front stage where I belong. So that was amazing. So she formed a committee of people interested in working with the cemeteries in downtown Miami, because there were many African Americans and Caribbean Americans who were buried without headstones. So let's talk about this group. One of the original members was buried in the cemetery in Miami without a headstone. So that was the first person that she chose to raise funds to create a headstone. I was working at the Convention Bureau at the time and also on Data Heritage Trust. I got the Bureau to fly in the current group, and they flew in, and we had the headstone made. And so we had this moment where they came in and they sang, and they were amazing, because they were singing for the original founder of the Ink Spots. So there's a Miami connection, and there's also an international connection. And we remember, again, the chair who really originated, and for a number of years, we would fundraise for headstones for people who were buried in that cemetery who never had a headstone. So I want to remember Dr. Enid Pinckney, who was amazing, and the Ink Spots, who entertained people around the world, but at the time couldn't even be buried properly, which now they are buried. And if you go to the cemetery in Miami, you'll see the headstone for one of the original Ink Spots. So that's my first commentary. We're very fortunate to have with us Bibi Andrade, better known as one of Miami Beach's pioneers in the arts and culture world. She's the vice chair of the Black Affairs Advisory Committee. I'm giving everyone one sentence because with all of you, I could go on forever. So, Bibi, you want to come in, and now you have the QR code, so you could follow with the QR code about Josephine Baker.
Okay, hi, everybody. Welcome to Culture Crawl. Okay, I see we have some new people here, and some old original faces. But okay, so let's get to the program. Okay, does everyone have a picture? Me as Josephine. By the way, I did Josephine Baker when I was younger. And if you ask George said you were twins. No, for real, I could morph her like nobody else. All right, so everybody, wait, let me put my glasses on.
And the twins.
And the twins, yeah, we twins, girl.
No,
okay,
but the twins.
Oh. Oops, okay. So, Josephine Baker, born Frida Josephine McDonald in 1906 in St. Louis, Missouri, and rose to fame in the 1920s as a dancer and singer. A little backstory here. Josephine met Willie Wells, whom she married at the age of 13. I don't know if you knew that, because I sure didn't. Okay. But the marriage lasted less than a year. Her second husband, William Howard Baker, whom she married in 1921 at age 15. Oh, I know. I was like, what? Okay. They divorced in 1925 during a period when her career success was beginning. Still, she continued to use his last name professionally, which is why she is Josephine Baker. And I thought you should know that. Okay. The iconic American-born, we're calling her French entertainer because France claimed her. Period. Okay. And into that story, was not only renowned for her mesmerizing performances that captured audiences worldwide, and particularly in Paris, where she became a significant figure in the jazz age and Harlem Renaissance, but her impact went far beyond entertainment. She was the first Black woman to star in a major motion picture, the 1927 French silent film Serene of the Tropics. Josephine was one of the most celebrated performers to headline the reviews of the Folies Bergère in Paris. Her performance in the 1927 review En Vent de Folie caused a sensation in Paris. Her costume, consisting of only a short skirt of artificial bananas and a beaded necklace, became an iconic image and symbol of both the jazz age and the roaring 20s. And we all know that image because it truly is iconic. She also became a spy for the French Renaissance during World War II, using her celebrity status to gather intelligence on Nazi Germany. She attended diplomatic parties to collect secrets, often writing notes on her own body to avoid detection. Josephine Baker's influence as a civil rights activist was profound. She used her platform She used her platform to fight against racial discrimination and segregation. Her refusal to perform for segregated audiences in the United States was a bold statement against the pervasive racism of the time. Baker's contribution to Miami Beach is a testament to her advocacy and cultural impact. In the 1950s, Josephine performed at the Culper City nightclub that you all know now as the storage facility, okay, across the street from Home Depot. Okay, right. So, exactly. It was a fabulous club, by the way. Culper City nightclub, a venue that was in the heart of Miami Beach's vibrant nightlife and was a significant step forward in an era when opportunities for Black artists were severely restricted. She insisted on integrated audiences. She made the promoters write it into her contract, okay, because she refused to perform for whites only. Every one of her shows was sold out, and the engagement made national headlines. Her stance challenged the status quo of the time. Josephine Baker's legacy in Miami Beach is a reminder of the power of art to transform norms and inspire change. Her efforts contributed to the gradual desegregation of venues here and helped set the stage for future civil rights advancements in the areas. Baker also participated in the 1963 March on Washington along with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., further cementing her commitment to equality. She passed away on April 12, 1975. On November 30th, 2021, Baker was introduced into the Pantheon in Paris, the first Black woman to receive one of the highest honors in France. And that is my Josephine Baker story.
Wonderful.
Yeah, was it good?
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay. Wait, one more thing. Here, by the way, just go on and Google her. There's a QR code that George has passed around that you can take up various different informations. There's so much history on her. I mean, she was in many more films and many more things. Fascinating life, adopting all the children. Just couldn't go there because otherwise I'd be here for an hour. So that's all I have to say. Thank you. And my name is Brigitte Andrade, and I am the vice chair of the BAOC.
Next Sunday.
Sorry. Next Saturday, please, everybody, if you're in town, you must come to the Art of Go-Go. It is, we're celebrating 50, we're celebrating 50 years of go-go music, and I am curating the art show, and it is going to be the bomb. It's from 5 to 10, and just go to the MiamiTakeover.com for your tickets.
Thank you, Bibi. So our next personality, Glendon Hall, is the chair of the Miami Beach Black Advisory Committee.
That was the Bland show, not the Bond show.
Okay. And so I'm introducing Glendon to come in, and he's going to talk about the one and only Duke Ellington.
Thank you, sir. And we need to have a round of applause for this brother right here. Right? Because you know me, I make sure that the Black experience on Miami Beach is 365, 24/7. Right? And not just spring break. All right. So just to remind everybody also that Black Bahamian hands built this city. Black Bahamian hands built this city. Black talent, like Duke Ellington, Josephine Baker, Ella Fitzgerald, made it cool before Las Vegas was even around. And that's why we ask no permission to be here, and we're here to stay, and everybody is welcome. Okay? We built this city. So let's get into De Wellington, who I have a strong resemblance to. I ain't get no laugh out of that. Y'all tripping. I'm gonna keep moving. So I'm not gonna go into much detail, but Duke Ellington, as you guys know, was born in Washington, D.C., and he grew up in a community. I think D.C. at that time was segregated, but it wasn't as bad as south of the Mason-Dixon line. So growing up, they were taught to have black pride, right? You have Howard University, as they call Mecca, HBCU. I went to HBCU, Morehouse College, so I understand the relevance of that. And my daughter just graduated from Spelman. I had to put that in. So he grew up with a lot of racial pride in an era where that was not really promoted. So when he grew up, he knew that he had to have that as part of his being and as part of his music. And he used that music as a form of activism. It was rebellious, right? A lot of times artists, even now, you could use music to actually get a point across and change people's minds. And sometimes, mostly with him, because he had more, no words, but the music was there and the actual tone and the liner notes and everything else told the story. So, and he also said, you can say anything you want on the trombone, but you got to be careful with words, right? Because in those days, I mean, I recall, because he mentioned it, that even when Miles Davis, he had his Kind of Blue album, which was just magnificent. His name was on the marquee. This was in the early 50s in New York. He went outside to have a cigarette, and he was almost beaten to death by a cop. A lot of people don't remember that. The cop told him to move. He said, look, I'm just taking a break. See my name on the marquee? And he was bludgeoned. So even then, somebody who's showing excellence could not separate themselves from that type of abuse. And this wasn't in Mississippi. This was in New York, right? So, as I mentioned, he used it for activism. He also quoted as him saying, the music of my race is something more than the American idiom. It is a result of our transplantation to American soil, and it was our reaction in the plantation days to the tyranny we endured. What we could not say openly, we expressed in music. Right? So the music gave him power, gave us power. And as a child of Jamaica, music helped people stay sane. And I'm doing that right now. I've been listening to a lot of Bob Marley, boy, lately. And he knew that the music could reach people in a way that words simply could not, right? Also, too, he uses appearance to subvert racial stereotypes. Because this brother was always clean, right? His presentation, his orchestra, everything he did was top class. He was debonair, which went counter to the racist stereotype, step and fetch it, all that craziness. The blackface, the disgusting, portrayals of us in the media. His status and the way he carried himself was rebellious, right? And this is very important. All those folks you see in those days, and all that beauty and all that music, all that creativity, were doing it under grave circumstances. He literally could be pulled over and lynched at will, right? But yet, under that pressure, people still look like this, right? And so his character, his beauty, his music, and the way he carried himself was actually a form of rebellion, right? And folks saw that. And, some of the most beautiful pictures you can see are from the Harlem Renaissance, right? So even under that type of pressure, people were beautiful and stately and debonair and were very classy, right? This is great. And lastly, he broke down his racial barriers with his performance of Black, Brown, and Braids in Carnegie Hall. That was in the 40s that he came out with that, which was crazy subversive, right? And who was in the audience? Frank Sinatra and everybody else. So he used that also to introduce the Black experience to everybody in the 40s and to showcase the pain and struggle Black Americans had endured since they're captured from the shore of Africa. So, all that to say, this man represented greatness and excellence in a time of severe oppression. So we have no excuse to follow that legacy. Thank you. Don't give me a mic, huh?
Thank you very much. That was amazing. So our next personality is Cab Calloway and Troy Wright, the executive director of the Washington Avenue Business Improvement District. He's going to be Cab, and he's going to fill you in on his excellence.
And former Black Affairs Advisory member.
And former Black Affairs Advisory member. All right. My name
And you on what committee now?
is Cab Calloway. That's who I am. Do you know the song? Hi-di-hi-di-hi-di-hi. Ho-di-ho-di-ho-di-ho. Okay, so if you don't know that song, or if you've snapped or sang that song somewhere down the hallways over the last whatever years of your life, that was me. Everybody knew that song. I rose to national fame in the 30s, tearing up the Cotton Club in Harlem. That's where I made the world fall in love with Minnie the Moocher, the first jazz song by a Black artist to sell over 1 million records. From coast to coast, folks were swinging, hi-di, 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 hi, hi-di, 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 ho, and didn't even know what that meant. But they felt it because it really didn't matter. I led one of the most celebrated African-American bands in the world, and I had the eye on great talent. People like Dizzy Gillespie, Benny Payne, Illinois Jacquet. Those cats got their start with me. What we did on stage helped pave the road for folks like James Brown, Michael Jackson, and even Prince. I blended jazz, swing, and a whole lot of flair, strutting and zoot suits, and doing wild splits, and shouting to the back of the everywhere I could go, I am here. I was one of the first Black performers to make it to mainstream film and television. I danced across the silver screen in the 30s and made a big comeback with the Blues Brothers in the 80s. But beyond the lights and applause, there's another story. It's a Miami story. Because Miami and Overtown were both a part of my journey and my heart. Did you know radio station WAHR, the station that became WMBM today, launched right here on Miami Beach? That station gave rise to countless musical legends, and some have helped even were established by Blanche Calloway. You say, now who is Blanche Calloway?
Who's Blanche Calloway?
Blanche Calloway was his sister, but she was also one of the directors at the radio station. She was the real deal. She got me my first role on stage, even helped inspire the signature Heidi, Heidi, Heidi Ho chant. Blanche was a force. She was the first African-American precinct voting clerk and the first Black woman to vote in Florida as the whole state in 1958. So Overtown, the heartbeat of Black experience and excellence. Back in the 50s, I was a regular in Overtown. But just because I performed there, that's because it was my home. It was a part of the Chitlin circuit, the Southern soul and the jazz world. I couldn't stay on Miami Beach in those days. Black folks weren't allowed past 5th Street or across the bridge, and neither were the Jews. So things were limited. So even though my orchestra played big shows in Miami Beach, like the DeVille Hotel or the Moon over at Miami Ball, we packed it up after each encore and headed back to Overtown. But let me tell you something. That's where the magic started. So I returned to Miami Beach in the 80s and the 90s, not as someone hiding behind segregation curtain, but as a headliner. The crowds cheered me on at the Art Deco weekend for the preservation sponsored by Miami Beach, where I received the honor of Black Cultural Legend who shaped the soul of a city and the sound of a generation award. And even I had a chance to stay at the Raleigh Hotel. Imagine that, how things changed. So in full circle, from being blamed or banned to being celebrated, that, my friend, is jazz justice. So one more time. Hotty, 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 hotty. Hotty, 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 oh. Thank you. I'm Cab Calloway.
Wow. I love all of our Miami connections. So our next personality is Louis Armstrong, as presented by Stephen Anthony, new here from Kansas City, Missouri. He's also the Director of Economic Development for the City of Miami Beach. So welcome.
All right. I see trees are green, red roses too. I see them bling for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. All right. The little taste, but Satchmo as we name him. I have a little tribute to Louis Armstrong, if you don't mind, and taking a few minutes with me. In smoky clubs, in sunlight's gleam, a trumpet rose, a golden beam, with cheeks puffed proud and fingers fast. Satchmo played a song to last. He laughed through notes, he wept in swing, each riff a bird on feathered wing. His gravel voice, so sweet, so bold, made stories dance, made sorrows fold. What a wonderful world he'd croon beneath the stars or afternoon, beneath the trees of green, red roses too. He saw them all in deeper view. His horn could hum a lullaby or make the angels improvise. In every breath, his soul took flight, a jazz man painting dreams at night. So here's to Louis, heart and sound, who turned our ears and spun them round. With swing and grace, he gave the earth a symphony of love and worth. Let his echo never cease in joy and hope and gentle peace. So I just want to give a few words for Satchmo, Louis Armstrong, right? As George mentioned, I'm a Kansas City native and the birthplace of Kansas City jazz. And so, you know, this is always near and dear to my heart. And Louis came to speak and performed in Kansas City in a number of different venues that I actually had the opportunity to visit in different places. But for those that didn't have the pleasure of knowing who Louis Armstrong is, it's, you know, he was nicknamed Satchmo, he was nicknamed Pops, and was a New Orleans-based jazz trumpeter where I actually went to undergrad at Dillon University, HBCU, in New Orleans, Louisiana. So shout out to the HBCUs. I feel that, Glendon. Born John Trumpeter, singer, band leader, rose to fame in the 1920s. For those that didn't know, a key figure in jazz history. Armstrong's his improvisational style was very unique and influenced countless musicians along the way and helped usher in the end of big bands. Right, he credited with elevating jazz from a novelty to a fine art, and his work continues to this very day. And so I had the distinct pleasure of being able to represent it. And I don't know how I did it, but George gave me the opportunity to represent for Louis Armstrong. And I don't know anybody across the country, across the world, for instance, who don't know who Satchmo is, but very much had the distinct pleasure of representing for Louis Armstrong, and his place in the Art Deco 100. The Black experience here is very unique, and it's very much in place. So we certainly appreciate it. So shout out to Louis Armstrong, Satchmo, Pops. You know, it's all love. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
So now I want to take a moment. I wanted to wait till everyone was here because we were still assembling. And so I want to give you a little history. The gentleman to my left, who's the person that thought of this, made this happen. So why don't you step this way? Georgie is an amazing individual who, and his dedication to detail is enormous. So we have this amazing outdoor museum gallery space, thanks to him, thanks to Nada, one of his team members, but he's also part of the city of Miami Beach, of course, and works directly with the mayor and his staff. And it's from there that this partnership developed. And I wanted the opportunity to talk about it when everyone was here, before we were running back and forth in the pictures. So I want to pay special honor to him and ask him to say a few words about the genesis of the 100 years of Art Deco, the international world capital where you're sitting right now. And it's because of him we can say that.
You're lucky because I'm not going to sing this line. Because like in elementary school, this is not a joke. They throw me out from the chorus because they thought that I'm terrible, and I'm terrible. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to read. Usually I'm in the back working, not in the front row, like speaking. So, oh, okay. There is a difference. Good evening and welcome to Galleria. So, George, this is more a conversation about what is a Galleria than Art Deco. So Galleria Ocean Drive happened because every morning I'm riding my elliptical on the beach work, and I was thinking what I can do for this city, well, how I can bring my expertise and do something to enrich my life and the other residents. And in former Yugoslavia, actually during the Civil War, which is completely bizarre, I had the opportunity to work on quite a few cultural projects. Among them, quite a few outdoor galleries. And I noticed that people are more inclined to come in the outdoor gallery than indoor gallery. And our first exhibition, Second World War in Miami Beach, proved that with 100,000 visitors during only 5 months. So in short, this exhibition and Art Deco celebration, worldwide celebration, and Galleria Ocean Drive are the initiative of the office of the mayor, Stephen Miner, and commission, but also, the support with the city departments, communication and parks and recreation, and our small team. I have to highlight Daniel Sommer, who is the senior policy advisor to mayor, but also core curator of the Galleria Ocean Drive. And that was short and sweet, I hope. And thank you all for coming. And this exhibition is going to stay till next January. And I do hope we are going to have many, many more events like this, highlighting Art Deco and bringing our community together. Okay, thank you.
We're so fortunate that we have him in our lives, because not only he's done many things previous to this, but of course this is groundbreaking. And there's just so many ways that we can highlight the international capital of Art Deco. And this is one of the first ways we're doing that, which is, for me, it's been so touching and exciting. Our next celebrity is Lionel Hampton. Paul Thomas is the vice chair of the GLBT, the Gay and Lesbian Advisory Committee, like the Black Advisory Committee, but it's the GLBT committee. He's been on the board for a number of years. He's also been one of the hardest workers for Gay Pride. One of the reasons for its success, which is worldwide and global, is due to his volunteer work. So please come forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. George called me a couple of hours ago and he said, "Can you do me a favor?" Actually, I was on a Zoom and I didn't answer the phone. And so he texted me and he goes, "I really need you to do me a favor." So I'm happy to be here. I said yes. He asked me if I would talk about Lionel Hampton. I said, "Oh, it's interesting that you picked Lionel Hampton because back when I was in college at Hampton University, which is also an HBCU, I was in a college play called 1 O'Clock Jump. And it was about Lionel Hampton and the big band era. And we toured half of America way back then. So it was a lot of fun to look up Lionel again and to get reconnected with him. I looked for a Miami Beach connection, and I didn't find that he actually played here, but he was very instrumental after he had become famous. He was very instrumental in the 60s with housing development. He developed housing in Harlem called the Lionel Hampton Houses. And he also developed housing in Newark, New Jersey. And it was very important to him, the idea of housing and of preservation. And so when I asked, I was trying to find a connection from him to here. ChatGPT said there was a definite connection between him and wanting to make sure that housing was available and preserved for everyone. Since this is for the Miami Preservation League, I wanted to make sure that we found some type of connection. Lionel was born, let me go back to there. Let's see, Lionel Leo Hampton, April 20th, 1908 to August 34th, 2002, was an American jazz vibraphonist. Do you know what a vibraphone is? He was like a famous vibraphonist, percussionist and band leader. He worked with musicians from Teddy Wilson, Benny Goodman, Buddy Rich to Charlie Parker, Charles Mingus, and Quincy Jones. In 1992, he was inducted into the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame, and he was awarded the National Medal of Arts in 1996. That's I know. Hampton was a member of the executive committee of the Writers and Artists for Peace in the Middle East, a pro-Israeli group. And in 1984, he signed a letter protesting German arms sales to Saudi Arabia on behalf of Israel. On November 11th, 1936, in Yuma, Arizona, I found it fascinating that this guy lived all over the country. Married his wife, Gladys. Gladys was Lionel's business manager and throughout much of his career. And many musicians recall that Lionel ran the music and Gladys ran the business. How many people can identify with that? So Lionel Hampton was, world-renowned in his music, but also in his advocacy. I feel like, so what I did is I looked up 1 O'Clock Jump, and there's a song, and I listened to the song while I looked into some of his history. Hampton was deeply involved in the construction of various public housing projects and founded the Lionel Hampton Development Corporation. Could not find out if it's still in existence, but the housing is still there. I don't know if the company is still there. In Harlem, New York in the 60s with the Governor Nelson Rockefeller. Hampton's wife, Gladys Hampton, also was involved in construction of the housing project in her name, the Gladys Hampton Houses. And Gladys also passed away in 1971. Lionel Hampton has awards that start in 1954 and he received his first award in 1954 as the Israel Statehood Award. 1957, he received the American Goodwill Ambassador by President Dwight D. Eisenhower Award. He received a Papal Medal from Pope Paul VI in 1968. As you were talking about Duke Ellington, when you think about those times and you think about the accomplishments of the people despite the times, when you think about when I was going through, he has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1982. Honorary doctorates. 1988, he received the National Endowment of the Arts as Jazz Master Fellowship. In 2021, he received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. And so that is Lionel Hampton.
So I playing a very small role, filling in for someone who called in at the last minute and was not well. So I only have a little bit of a bio, but we can't leave Fats Waller out. So even though I only have a few things to say, he's in the pantheon here with all of the other folks that we're highlighting. He lived from amazed me is how young he died. He lived from 1904 to 1943. Was a jazz legend known for his dazzling piano skills, comedic flair, and unforgettable songs like Ain't Misbehavin' and Honeysuckle Rose. Born in Harlem, he was a child prodigy who helped popularize what's called the stride piano style. He teamed up with lyricist Andy Razif and became a radio record and stage star in the 1930s at the height of the Art Deco era. With his band, Fats Waller and his Rhythm, he toured widely and entertained millions with his joyful performances. Waller died young at 39, but left such a huge legacy and over 400 recordings. His mix of talent and charm made him one of the most beloved figures in early jazz. Let's remember Fats Waller. I've already said a word or two about our next celebrity, not only celebrity as Billie Holiday, but also a celebrity in Miami Beach since the day she arrived. We're so fortunate to have you here. And I want to tell everyone a secret that's no longer a secret, but we have a new restaurant on 12th in Washington next to Old City Hall, and it's called Wanderlust. And I said to the lovely, the one and only Mary Epps, let's have lunch at Wanderlust. And what resulted is she's back, baby. So there will be gospel brunch on Sunday starting on the 27th. I'm encouraging everyone to come. You need to just call them and make a reservation. So that's sort of an intro. I gave you a historical at first, and then I give you the most current, and now I give you Billie Holiday and Mary Epps.
Right, thumb. I got it. 1, 2, and 3.
All right.
Well, my name is Billie Holiday. And I am very happy to be here today. Everybody loves a winner. Only a winner can really make things happen. Well, I never thought I was a winner. I always thought I was a loser because of all that I had been through before I was even 11 years old. I was born and grew up. I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but I grew up in Baltimore, and my name was Eleanor Fagan, AKA Billie Holiday then comes. My childhood saw me committed to an abusive Catholic reform school at age 9. I dropped out at age 11, and then I left Baltimore in 1929 to pursue a singing career. There I became Lady Day in the Renaissance area. I get a little emotional about this because I saw so much at a young age. My mother was a prostitute. And then after I got to my mother in New York, I too became a prostitute. And it was through many, many days and unhappiness and non-love from my mother that I finally found my true outlet, and that was to sing. I sang when I was sad. I sang when I was happy. I sang when I just didn't know what I was. But the one thing I knew is I was not a winner. And so with that, I then went on to be in many clubs where I was also a part of like a brothel. And there I was singing and having to collect my tips in an unorthodox manner. So when I was about to raise my skirt to get my tips for singing, there was a wonderful gentleman that came into my life, and he then had me not take the tips in that way. And he then made my name Billie Holiday and made me a star. He started the stardom for me. Well, I went on to perform with such greats as Count Basie, Audie Shaw. I was named the first Black woman headliner of an all-white orchestra. My popular recordings, Summertime, when the living is easy, fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. And that was one of the main songs from the Black opera Porgy and Bess. In 1936, a melodic career awaited me. The racial discrimination, which required me to use kitchen entrances, service elevators, while the white musicians who backed me strolled in through the lobby, left me disillusioned. It was a popular integrated Greenwich Village Club Cafe Society that I would first perform the song that would make me a legend. And that song was Strange Fruit. Strange Fruit came from the concept of Billy being on a bus, and the bus broke down. And in those days, you couldn't go into just any restaurant. You had to be where it said Black only. And so she was sitting outside of the bus, and she looked and said, wow. And she started to cry. She just cried. And there was this strange fruit, which were Black men hanging from the tree. And as her lyrics say, Southern trees bear a strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree. Pastoral scenes of the gallant South, the bulging eyes and the twisted mouths, scents of magnolias sweet and fresh, then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is a fruit that the crows come to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, the sun to rot, for the tree to drop. Here is a strange and bitter crop. And when she sang that, audiences sat silent, but then she was made to stop singing it. And these words, she said, if I'm going to sing like someone else, I don't need to sing at all. And from there, she went on to write other songs and to sing other people's music, but always in the style of her own. And there she was, wonderful Billie Holiday. And there I was as Billie Holiday, her Aries sister. She was born in April 1915. And I am also an Aries and very proud to be. Ladies and gentlemen, honor to the spirit of my dear Aries sister, Ms. Billie Holiday. Thank you so much. My name is Marielle Epps, and I'm very happy to be here. This particular song is one of her favorites that I do often, and I'm just going to make it short.
Bring on the paper.
Now, go ahead, put her there.
You said lower.
Thank you, baby. Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the good book says, and it still is news. You know that your mama may have, and your papa may have, but God bless a child that's got her own. Ooh, that's got her own. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, the strong get more, while the weak ones fade. Those empty pockets don't, they just don't make the grade. And you know that your mama may have, and your papa may have, but God bless the child that can stand up and say, I've got my own. Thank you so much. Thank you. Come see me on Sunday, June 27th. Thank you, my love.
I just want to say, oh my God.